I'm Barry McGregor. I'm part of the Fujifilm ink business. My job actually is integration, so I am a physicist as well in an ink company, which makes me a rare beast. But my job is really to make sure that our ink looks good in other people's systems, that we get the most out of it and that it doesn't get used in an incorrect manner. We're not about building systems, but I will introduce my colleague Mike. Do you want to say who you are and what you do?
Sure. I'm Mike Wolfinger. I work for Fujifilm Integrated Inkjet Systems. So we provide solutions, we provide hardware. I've been with the company about 10 years now. I was new to Inkjet when I came here. It's amazing, 10 years goes by. Sometimes I still feel like the new guy. But,
yeah. And the reason we feel like that is because we've been on a long journey. So we're going to talk about a journey that took 10 years, and we're going to pot it down to 15 minutes. So I'm known for talking very fast. I may even talk faster than normal, during this, okay? But we're going to cover around about 10 years worth of effort. So imagine me looking really, really young 10 years ago on a stand talking about ink. And this is when industrial inkjet was really beginning to be a bright vision for people, an ambition that we all wanted to do, to bring inkjet to lots and lots of different industries. So there I am on a stand, innocent people walking past me, I'm grabbing them onto the stand so I can tell them about our amazing technology, our amazing inks, what we can print on metals, we can print on plastics, of course, with our wide format graphics history. We can print on leathers, a whole range of things. So customers come to our stand, eventually I let them get a word in and so they can turn around and say, actually, I'm really interested in that technology. That would solve our problem. Yeah? Your ink is exactly what I'm looking for. Where do I buy the machine to do it? And I go, well, yeah, we don't have one. Okay, so what you need to do is go around this hall and talk to all the integrators. When you find an integrator, come back to us because we've got the ink for you, for your particular application. And that's where my conversation would end. So that's where I was 10 years ago. Where were you 10 years ago, Mike?
Yeah, my journey was a little different. So in the systems integration business, at least 10 years ago, we really were focused on bespoke solutions. And one of our primary goals was really to find new applications for the heads. We certainly were trying to build a business around the systems integration, but if we could, tip an industry, that's really what you're looking to do, right? Get somebody else to move to inkjet. So we were out there doing that, and it didn't take long to realize that there's three big pillars that come to providing these systems. One of them's the head. I had that in my pocket. The next one's the system, and that's what we were there to do, integrate a system. The last one was the ink, and it was pretty tough to sit in front of customers on a two-legged stool.
So there we are, in the same company, owned by a parent company with this ambition of going industrial, but we're in our silos. Okay, so as we come to this realization of sharing a stand together, that we've got complementary technology, it makes sense for us to work together. Our management came to the same conclusion. Okay, with it. So they said, it's not a choice, you've got to work together, all right? So as a good physicist, what did I do when they turned around and said, you've got to work together? I kind of got really panicky about it, and I went back to the laboratory, okay, where I felt safe, where I felt secure. And Mike and I, we spent a long time in the laboratory, and the whole point of that was that we were trying to get to understand each other's technologies, okay, with it. So from the understanding of our technologies, sorry, I've lost my train of thought then. Yes,
the language.
Yes. See, there I got caught up on my own language because I got carried away with the whole story. One of the things that we struggled most with was the language that we were speaking. So we were doing our business in the wide format graphics side of things. We've got this language, we've got a long heritage of working in the wide format graphics. Mike there is working in an entirely different industry looking for bespoke applications. So we're talking about stuff, assuming that he knows what we're talking about and vice versa. That's not the case. And Mike's got a really good example of where that clash happened.
Yeah, we obviously spent a lot of time working in the lab trying to make new applications work. And, I forget what the application is today, but having difficulty getting adhesion. So, we got a great relationship with Barry. By the way, physicists are okay. Shoot him an email and, hey, what's going on, Barry? Can't get adhesion. And I start getting questions about cure that I don't know what to do with. So another project going on, having difficulties with cure, sending Barry emails. Barry, I can't get good cure. And now I'm getting questions about adhesion. And eventually it's like, what's going on here? Let's sit down and go through this. Only to realize that, and we didn't know this at the time, those two things are pretty much linked. It's difficult to decouple them. So the good news was, we are part of the same company, so it was easy enough for those guys to sort of open up the portfolio and say, well, here's the laboratory control tests. Here's what we do. Here's how to characterize the phenomenon. Here's how to describe what's going on using numbers and things that we can understand. And then, from there on, it was a lot easier.
It was. And I think the thing to take from this is that whilst we do work together and we work really, really closely and intimately sharing information, we have separate businesses as well. So what we've got to do is work out a way of keeping that IP separate and not contaminating the relationship. So that was really important for us. So whilst we're working through in the laboratory, that's foremost in our mind as well. What can we share? What can't we share? Okay, with it. So by opening up our own tests, we're able to get that understanding of what's happening in an ink. But equally, Mike was able to lift the hood on his print engine, and we could see parts that we'd never seen before that our ink was affecting in their system. So we talk a lot in Fujifilm about operational spaces. So we've got a formulation operational space, that we can actually put inks into to reach an application. What we're able to do is superimpose Mike's operational space on top of that. So as we're beginning that path of ink development, we've got a narrower view about the space we can operate in to be able to achieve our goals together within this. So everything's good, okay? And then people like Gary come along and spoil the party. He says, we've got to get out of the lab. We've got to start selling this stuff. We know how to make it into a business. So I turn around to Mike and say, can I have a machine?
Yes, but I don't know what that is. So, there starts the collaboration. Our goal there really was, we want to bring customers into the space and we want to show them what we can do. And we've learned the hard way that you have to be careful with what you're showing the customers. It's pretty easy to get laboratory setups and produce a result, show it to a customer, have them love it, and then deploy a system where it's really hard to do that day in and day out, week after week, year after year. There's a lot that goes into making sure that you understand all those variables. So, what we did with this is, talk a lot about what we wanted to show, how we wanted to do it. And at this point, we really have two demo facilities, one in the UK here and one in the US in New Hampshire, with capability to do exactly that. So, now when customers come to us and say, I want to do X, Y, and Z, assuming it's within our existing capability, you certainly have people asking for, new stuff. But, assuming it's something that we can scale to, we can show them very specifically what's possible and what's not.
Yeah, and it's definitely not a case of just build it, okay? Because everybody's got a different idea of what it is, okay? And I think the key thing about the kit that Mike has provided us as demonstration kit, it's immediately transferable to the real world. It's very easy to get caught up in that thing of skewing your samples, by making them work because you want that business, you want that contract. But Mike has put limitations on that flexibility for us by making a real system that we have to adhere to those borders that he's able to do. So that means that when we produce a sample that comes off the presses that Mike's made for us to do demonstrations, we know that that image can be scaled up into a machine that achieves the same level of quality that we're able to use on our demo systems. It's not a lab-based system. We've been told we have to move out of the lab, we have to make this real. Very, very scary for me. Okay, but at this point, we've got our lab demo systems, we've got a customer, they're happy with it, and I go, Mike, can I have my machine now? Oh, sorry, wrong one.
Yes, but, so, again, with scaling, what we're showing here is sort of an absurd view, right? With a couple of bits, you can get jetting in the lab, but when you're getting in front of a customer, these systems can be, quite large in scale and scope. So one of the things that we really learned was it's extremely important to get in front of that customer and collaborate with them to try to get their requirements. And folks probably have done lots of product development, right? That's the standard environment. You get a marketing guy that comes to you and gives you the wish list, and engineering turns around and says you can't have any of that. And then those two guys go back and forth until finally you get to something that both is possible, hopefully, and actually sellable. Well, now you have to turn around and you have to do that with a customer that doesn't come to you. This is the first time I've appreciated my marketing guys. They understand some of the technology they can engage in these conversations. It's really a skill that we had to develop to have that conversation with a customer. You know, these are folks that don't really understand the trade-offs you're having to make behind the scenes and don't want to. You know, you can't engage them at that level. So you really have to understand, you know, how can I ask the right questions? How can I get to the right information? So that at the end of the day, this is really going to do what it is they need it to do.
We have the same perspective from an ink side. So it's a really disingenuous question of me to make, can I have a machine? Because if he said, can I have an ink? I go, whoa, whoa, whoa. Yeah, we can't do this. You need to give me a specification. I need to know exactly what it's got to do. Got to know what surface it's got to hit. I've got to know what speed it's going to take. So really, there's that imbalance. And what we've learned over the years is that appreciation of each other's technologies and each other's limitations. So really, this isn't a false mock-up of a machine on there. This is a real example of stuff that's going on. Now, this is my world. I'm happy with this. I'm really comfortable with this. I don't understand how you go from this to this. It's got too many parts, it's got too many components. Why have you made it so complicated, Mike? What's in there?
Yeah, there's a lot to that question. You know, one of the things is scale, right? So when you talk about building bespoke systems for customers, you have to be careful that you're not doing a ground-up design for everybody. You know, you really can't make a business that way. So what we really have developed is an architecture, and an architecture that's meant to scale. So when you're making this from small to big, that element is sort of baked in. You know, that's almost easy, right? Like the print bars are made to get wider. They're made so you can add more of them if you need more colors. The data architecture behind this is meant to scale. You know, there's stuff like that. Interestingly, you know, once you get over those hurdles, some of the things that we found that really get you are the little things, the simple things. You know, I've heard people talk about, you know, dirty environments in the conference over the last 2 days. And interestingly, what we have found is that it's not that it's a non-issue, it's out there, but I haven't seen a lot of returns come back because shedding from somebody's paper is clogging nozzles to the point where it can't be cleaned and that system got jetting again. Where I have gotten calls, you know, and of course they're in the middle of the night, is somebody will be down, and when the system comes down, that's a problem, you get a call. An electrical failure. So you send a technician out there only to find that, you know, somebody, the customer, has kicked the door of this cabinet open, propped it open with their shoe. And the reason they did that is because 2 months ago, all the fan filters loaded up and it wasn't cooling adequately anymore. So rather than follow the procedure that we've given them for, you know, for cleaning that out, they just opened the door up. And now all that dirt is all over your electronics. You know, it's little stuff like that that creeps up on you.
And I think the one that I've heard from you the most in the last few years is something that I never considered in this whole thing, because I'm focused on this hardware, I'm focused on the liquid, is software. And we've heard a bit about software, but you've got a slightly different view as well about, you know, the complexities there.
Yeah, there's a lot of complexities within software. You know, you get people that want to talk to, you know, antiquated machine systems. That's difficult, but the one that's captured a lot of our time is variable data. And that's an interesting topic. You know, it's when you talk about a big, you know, multi-color machine like this, it's, you know, nobody really doing variable data, right? Like, how would you generate enough data across that many color planes to have each an individual page be unique? But what we run into is, you know, what seem like simple monochrome systems. And from a printing point of view, most of the time they are. You know, if somebody buys a monochrome system, they're likely doing text and barcodes at high speed, which is fairly easy to do from a printing point of view. Fairly recently, within the last year, we were speaking to a customer about this, and the scale of that began to come up. So we're asking the questions, trying to get to the bottom of the requirements. What are they really trying to do? And eventually you get to, they want, it was 15 print bars, 1/2 meter wide, that were all consuming variable data arrayed across 7 systems that were all tied together. So you start talking about this and trying to understand, are these really unique? Do you really need this much data? And, you know, inadvertently you sort of annoy the customer a little bit, and the pushback I get was, look, you know, I'm at home and I'm hooked up to a commercial, you know, internet provider, and me and 2 of my kids can stream 3 HD movies all at the same time. What's your data problem? What's the big deal? And I see my engineer take his cell phone out. And I notice this because this is what happens right before he proves me wrong about something I've said. So I've been very sensitized to this. But he comes out and then very respectfully says, well, just to let you know, Mr. Customer, that the network that we would need to service your data needs here, you could actually stream 750 high-def movies, not 3. So that the scale becomes immense. That really snuck up on us, that one.
Yeah, 750 movies simultaneously is a phenomenal amount. I think that beats the Tesla analogy from earlier. Yeah,
Right.
So
And by the way, nobody wants to see buffering come up on the screen. That's no good.
No. So this is where we're at. We're making these systems. So the real world, we've gone 10 years. The me that was over-enthusiastic on these stands is now involved in this level of system. But there's a cost that comes in this. These are high investment programs. They take a lot of engagement. So do you just want to briefly explain how we're managing that risk, Mike, in this slide?
Yeah, absolutely, I can do that. So, what you see here is a really simple output of a simulator that we've put together over the last couple of years. And by simulator, I don't mean we're simulating the physics. There's not a CFD engine behind this that's resolving what's happening with the fluid dynamics as the drop comes toward the substrate. This is all a data-driven model. So what we've got in here are things like, for example, we're jetting a certain size drop, and that creates a 50 micron spot. But when you consider that, it's really easy to just think, well, I have a 50 micron spot. But what you really have is a mean diameter of 50 microns with a standard deviation of 2 or 3. And what does that mean when you start talking about that over thousands and thousands of jets? So what we put together here is a simulator that can do that kind of stuff for you. And the point here is to feed it all of this, and not just that example, but you can feed it what happens if I'm slightly misaligned. What happens if I've taken my system and I've put it on a customer material handling system. Now I have to deal with any inaccuracies that are there as part of that system. So you can feed that in. So what you're doing is throwing a lot of statistics at this, and then generating a lot of these pictures. And then you can make hundreds of thousands of these pictures very quickly. And the other side of this would be teaching the system to then go through and look at this and come back and tell you, okay, look, here are some potential issues. Here are things that you could see that you might not like to see, and the probability of that happening.
Yeah, so for me this is a great story because it goes full circle. So we started off with theory about how we wanted to attack this market. We came up with a system of being able to make bespoke systems where the ink is an integral part of that. And as a result, to try and de-risk it and reduce the cost to the end customer of continuous development, when you hit that first print and the first print rolls off the press and they go, that's not quite what I had in mind, through this process, we've gone all the way back to starting off in the laboratory where we're able to present this to people virtually so that they can make an informed decision about whether they want to go on this journey with us. And it's through collaboration together and through opening of data and through that mutual trust that we've reached this endpoint. So that's very, very quickly, 10 years worth of effort in 15 minutes, but it's been a really fun journey, but not a straight journey as you saw in the first slide. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Scott.